All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And today we are going to talk about the offensive game plan against Baylor. A lot of questionable play calling, a lot of just head scratching decisions. Why was Bryson in for so long before he got pulled? And why was he in general instead of Nate when you look at how well Nate was playing? A lot to talk about. Please make sure you guys drop the video a like. Also, comment in the chat as we break it down. What are your thoughts on the offense? Did you find it as I don't know, troublesome or as confusing as I did? I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, share the video to whatever Facebook pages you guys, frequent, share it there so we can grow the community. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're going to be talking Utah Utes football round the clock, a video basically every day until football season's over, and probably more videos once football season's over, unless I feel like I'm forcing content, which is not what I want to do. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about this confusing offense we saw last week. All right, and in a second, I'm going to break down some stats. I'm going to break down some PFF grades that will kind of back up what I'm saying here. But if you guys are following the channel Utah Utes Ballin on Twitter, you guys would have seen me posting throughout the game about some of my opinions on the offensive play calling. I could not understand for the life of me why we were not running up the middle more. We kept doing these quarterback runs with Nate Johnson. Those were up the middle, but that's not what you want. You don't want to send your quarterback up the middle. And he was getting body slammed multiple times, like thrown to the ground. You could tell the Baylor defense was like, hey, you're going to send your quarterback up the gut. We're going to hurt him. And so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about running backs going up the middle and fighting for yards. And it was working so well, it made no sense to me. It was literally like we would get a couple first downs from running the ball so well. And then all of a sudden, we'd come out 1st and 10 with Bryson Barnes in the shotgun and throw a pass that would go for a yard or be incomplete, or even worse, sometimes like a 5-8 yard sack that would put us behind the chains for 2nd and 3rd down. It was really just nightmarish to watch the play calling. And there's not much to say better about it. And I'm not sure. I call that Andy Ludwig by name, but it could be Kyle Whittingham as well. I'm not sure how much freedom Andy has, or who's really making these decisions. But it felt clear to me throughout the game that we were able to run the ball up the middle. Sometimes we'd get cute and bounce to the outside, and like with a run would be like a vert or whatever to the outside, and it would just go for nothing. But when we were doing hard running between the tackles, we were doing so well. It really looked so good. And I really do not understand why we did not take more advantage of that opportunity we had. Just to give you guys an idea, I'm going to pull up the stats here in a second. Let me get that pulled up and we'll break that down. Okay, guys, and I want you to take a look at this right here where it shows the Utah rushing stats right over here. So with the Utah rushing stats, what we've got, like I said, the quarterback runs weren't working super well. You can see Nate was only averaging 2.9 yards a carry, and Bryson was only averaging 2.6 yards a carry. So the quarterback runs were not working well. But what I want you to do is take out those and take out this wide receiver reverse that Micah Pittman got, and just look at the running backs. Charlie Vincent, Jalen Glover, and Jaquindon Jackson. You just look at the running backs, and most of their runs were between the tackles when we would decide to give it. And actually, no, it's not true. Not all the runs were between the tackles. There were definitely runs that we tried to bounce the outside. So, and most of those went for nothing. So between the running backs, though, we were averaging there. If you count out all the quarterback and the wide receiver reverse plays, it was a total of 27 carries. Jaquindon had 19, Jalen had 7. That's 26, and you add Charlie Vincent, that's 27. for 173 yards. That's 6.4 yards a carry, and it was working early in the game. We were running between the tackles as much as we wanted to. If we could, there was only two, maybe max four times where I saw us not get more than 4 yards on an up the middle run. It was ridiculous to watch how well we were running up the middle and how little it seemed that Ludwig or Whittingham wanted to do it. It was very confusing to me. It didn't make a lot of sense. So that's where we were at 6.4 yards a carry when the game ends. And it was at the end of the game. Obviously, Nate Johnson gave us a huge spark, right? And I'll touch on that in a minute as well, how that was confusing. But why were we not running? Even with Bryson, this would have been such a winnable game. We were dominating them in the trenches. And before I talk about Nate and Bryson, I want us to take a look at the PFF grades of our offensive line because I think that even more backs up what I'm telling you guys here. So let's take a look at that. All right, guys, and now let's look at these PFF grades. So I have this brought up here by run blocking. Okay, so we got the run blocking stats. So basically, for the offensive line, there was 43 plays where they were run blocking, and you look here, guys. It is wildly good how our run blocking was working. I mean, the worst guy on the offensive line was Spencer Fano for run blocking, and he was a 64.4, which is like a pretty solid grade. That's an average grade. And then you look at the rest of the crew. Jaron Kump, 70.7. That's a good grade. Michael Mokofisi, 75.2. That's a really good grade. Keaton Bills, 68.7. That's above average. Setawa Laumea, elite run blocking grade. These guys were throwing Baylor around in the run blocking game, and even the worst of them were still doing decent in Spencer Fano. Like the fact that we had this huge of an advantage on the defensive line, it was crazy to me to watch this. I thought it was clear when I was watching the game. I thought it was so obvious. And then what's even worse, let's look at this, guys. Let me show you what makes this even worse. Look at these freaking pass blocking grades. Just awful. I mean, you look at this, dude. Say Tao Laumea out here with a pass blocking grade of 44.4, just dreadful. And then you got Keaton Bills, 46.5, terrible. Michael Mokofisi, 46.6, terrible. To be fair, we did have two guys in Jaron Kump and Spencer Fano on the offensive line that looked decent. But when you have that much of an advantage in the run blocking game and a clear big time disadvantage in the pass blocking game, why do you continue to pass? I mean, we were running so well, and you guys can call me old school or say this only works in theory, it wouldn't work in real life. I don't agree with you. If you watch that game, go back and watch it if you haven't. We were running between the tackles at will. This was so painful to watch. And I'm a guy that considers myself an analytical football guy, right? I you guys know I dedicate a lot of my time to football. I think I do know a lot about football. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm not claiming that I could do better, but it really felt like Ludwig had a game plan, whatever that game plan was. And I think it was like throw this much, pass this much. This is what we saw in film. This is what we want to do. And he would not deter from it no matter what happened. And it felt so clear to me that we could run the ball, and the data backed it up. I knew it when I looked at the data that it was going to look, I didn't think it would look this bad. I thought it would be that our O line did pretty well blocking in both areas, and it was more Bryson Barnes struggling. But it was clear in blocking and in quarterback play that we should just keep running the ball. And for some reason, we continued to shy away from it and not take advantage of what the defense was giving us. Now, trust me, I'm happy we got the win. I know I probably sound like a complainer right now, but I really think this is worth looking at. And if anyone has any ties to anyone on the coaching staff, I hope that you guys can drop in the comments if anyone knows. Did how does this happen? How does anyone have this big of an advantage running the ball and they continue to force the issue and want to throw and throw and throw? It didn't make any sense to me. To be fair, we did run a little more than we threw, but still, I mean, we could have went a complete 80% rushing offense with some play actions and stuff like that. This was not the game plan, and it was clear once the game got going. The other thing that really confused me during the game was this unyielding commitment to Bryson Barnes that Ludwig or Whittingham, someone seemed to have. It was it was not only are they like going away from what's working to give him more opportunities to throw the ball, but on top of that, they're going away, like they will not let Nate throw the ball. The first 3 quarters, I really, for the life of me, don't remember when Nate threw the ball in the first half of the game. It it was like they just kept ramming Bryson Barnes and shotgun down their throats, and it just would not work. And then finally, it's like one, we start really committing to the run. I still don't think even at the end of the game we really committed to it at the level we should have. We should have just ran the ball because it was working so well. But even and then eventually we put Nate in and it works out, and I'm so happy we won the game. But it really made no sense to me why Nate wasn't throwing the ball. It was this bad game plan where it was like a read option, and I heard some people talking about that it was RPOs. To me, those didn't look like RPOs. Those looked like read options where he didn't have an option to throw the ball on most of those. And so he would do the read option, he'd run up the gut, or the running back would get it up the gut. And it was so obvious when Nate was in the game that they could load 9 in the box and we weren't going to test them. And then we finally let Nate start throwing the ball a little when they know he's going to throw the ball. They're dropping back because it's the end of the game. They want to bait us to run and let us milk the clock. And Nate is just dicing them apart. Really confusing to me why we were not running the ball up the gut more and why Nate didn't get some opportunities to pass more. It was really weird, especially once it was so clear you needed something to happen. It was like, hey, if you don't try something other than what you're doing right now, we're going to lose this game. And I mean, now that I've touched on the Nate and Bryson, to reiterate, the fact that we were not running the ball with the running backs between the tackle more was infuriating to me. It felt like we were going to lose this game because of play calling. Like really, it was so clear what we needed to do, and we just, for some reason, I wish I could be behind the scenes. Why were they not willing to run the ball more? Hey, is what it is. I don't want to rant too much. I still think we're going to have a great year, great time with this team this year. I would have liked to see some more promising uh, play calling by Ludwig and Whittingham. I think there was so many opportunities to take advantage of what they were giving us, and for some reason we weren't willing to do that. I hope by the time we get to UCLA and get to conference play that is worked out and that will not be happening anymore. If you guys appreciate this video, smash the like button. I'm sure this will be a little controversial. I've noticed anytime I call out Ludwig, people lose their damn minds. A year ago, when Notre Dame was whining and dining him and trying to recruit him, I came out with the video that said Ludwig is a good offensive coordinator, but he's not great or elite. And people lost their minds. Well, I think a lot of you guys probably agree with me now after Saturday, but I don't take a lot of solace in that. I'm just saying I hope Ludwig can figure that out. Take what they're giving you, dude. So smash that like button, comment down below. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love to see what you guys are thinking. Also, make sure you guys share this video. Do you guys like this type of, you want to share with your friends, whatever, share it wherever, guys. I appreciate any shares. And make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out tons of Utah Utes football content all the time. And I'm committing to you guys that it's going to be a video almost every single day. I'm putting the work in. I got an awesome crew of guys working with me. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're doing. This is the place to be for Utah football. Subscribe and get along for the ride, dude. It's going to be a great time. And hit that notification bell too if you haven't already. I'm out of here, guys. Go Utes.